Stopped by election losses, Republicans in the state seek a way to neutralize Democrats. Madison, please. When Democrats won the governor's office in Wisconsin, it was one of the party's most celebrated midterm successes in regaining the power of the state. Now, Republicans are striking back, moving to slash the power of the new governor even before he takes the oath of office. Democrats reacted with fury, crowding the halls of the state capitol in Madison on Monday and accusing the Republicans of trying to undo an election they had lost. It was only the latest such Republican effort across the country to try to use legislative action to counter blows the party suffered at the polls. For Wisconsin, a state that both parties will urgently vie to win in 2020 elections, it was one more sign of the ferocious partisan split that has rippled through the state in recent years. It's a power grab, said State Senator Steinbach, a Democrat, before a hearing on the package of bills that includes restriction on the incoming governor's ability to shift health public benefits programs around and on its authority to set the rules that determine how state laws are carried out. They lost their through in a fit. The long list of proposals Republicans want to consider also includes wide effort to shore up their strengths before shore up their strength before Tony Evers, the Democrats won beat Gov Scott Walker last month takes office. New limits on early voting, a shift in the timing of the 2020 presidential primary in Wisconsin, and a new authority for lawmakers on state legislation. The Republican plan would also slash the power of the incoming Attorney General, who is also a Democrat. In recent years, single parties have come to dominate state legislatures, allowing lawmakers to make significant policy changes in states even as Washington wrestled with gridlock. But in states like Wisconsin and Michigan, where Democrats regained governor's office in capitals that Republicans fully controlled for years, Republicans are making last-minute efforts to weaken their powers. It is a model pioneered in North Carolina, where Republican lawmakers in 2016 tried to restrict the power of the governor after a Democrat was narrowly elected to that post. That set off a bitter court battle that continues to this day. In Michigan, Republican lawmakers are considering proposals that would give them more authority to intervene in legal fights involving the states and would shift oversight of campaign finance. Efforts that Democrats say are aimed to strengthen the authority of their leaders, including Gretchen Whitmer, who won the governor race there, and Donald Nessel, Democrat, who won the race for Attorney General. Some local areas are seeing glimpses of similar battles. In Arizona, Maricopa County, with 4.33 million residents, the nation's fourth most populous, the Republican-dominated Board of Supervisors said last month that it was studying a takeover of some election day logistics now handled by the county recorder, a newly elected Democrat. The supervisors have said they have a non-partisan interest in improving the county's elections. In Wisconsin on Monday, Democrats and liberal groups called the Republicans' proposals for curbing Mr. Evers' authority in advance of his swearing next month a blatant power grab and a rejection of the election outcome. Some said they were considering legal action against any legislation that Republicans may try to push through this week. Republicans, who will retain their legislative majorities under the Democratic governor, have defended the hastily introduced package of bills as necessary. necessary check on executive power. Wisconsin laws written by the legislature and signed into law by the governor should not be erased by the potential political maneuvering of the executive branch, said Robin Vos, the Speaker of the State Assembly, and Scott Fitzgerald, the Republican leader in the state Senate, in a joint statement last week. But as hundreds of residents gathered at the Capitol, the Republican leaders spoke bluntly of the ideological clash between the caucus and the incoming governor. I think that Governor-elect Evers is going to bring a liberal agenda to Wisconsin, Mr. Fitzgerald said. There's going to be a divide between the legislative branch and the executive branch. We want to ensure that the new administration doesn't try to work around the legislature, Mr. Voss said, explaining the package of bills that Republicans say they hope will be taken up by the full legislature on Tuesday. We want both branches to have an equal seat at the table. Wisconsin's capital city has regularly been the scene of political upheaval over the last decade. The 2010 election flipped the Democratic control of the governor's office and both legislative chambers, and Governor Walker built a national reputation by swiftly moving to limit public sector unions' power, a push that sent thousands of union supporters and Democrats to Madison to protest for weeks and set off a series of recall elections against Republicans and Democrats. The state has long been purple. It voted for Barack Obama for president and also for Donald J. Trump. Wisconsin, which the Democrats had carried in the presidential race since 1988, played an unexpected role in helping to seal Mr. Trump's victory, but a long-standing tone of congenial relations between Wisconsin Democrats and Republicans vanished after the Republicans took over 8 years ago. Mr. Evers, who has been Wisconsin State Schools superintendent, condemned the proposals and urged Wisconsin residents to speak up against them. He said Republicans were trying to take us back to November 6th and change the election results. We're not going backwards in time to revoke this election. Mr. Evers said that one. Mr. Evers said he hoped to persuade the legislative chamber, both of which are controlled by Republicans, to vote down the bills. If that fails, Mr. Evers said, a plan B could include litigation. From a hearing room where the legislation was being weighed on Monday afternoon, protesters outside could be heard shouting "Respect our vote" and "Shame." Hundreds gathered in the protest in the court and the estate of the Capitol place where demonstrations by Democrats has been tense and frequent over the past 8 years under Republicans' dominance. Among the package of measures being considered in Madison, Democrats were especially angered about one that would allow Republican leaders in the legislature to hire their own lawyers to replace the Democratic Attorney General on certain lawsuits, including issues such as voter identification and legislative redistricting. Just Collins, the incoming Attorney General, defected Brian Skimmel, the Republican incumbent, in November. This bill is really the biggest version of the will of the people in this whole package, the state representation. Representative Chris Taylor, a Democrat, it totally got to the power of the Attorney General. It is an embarrassment, Mr. Evers said. Wisconsin has been known for several years now as a state that can't get along.